Welcome to Interviews, the show about everyday people with extraordinary stories. I'm your host, Abigail Mankey. We are on the web at interviewslive.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/interviewslive. My guest today is Cristen Andrews. Cristen has a lot of really interesting things going on, but you know how some people win contests? Cristen is one of those people. She won a tofurkey cooking contest. She won free dog food for a year. She won a scholarship to travel to India to teach plastic bag crocheting. And the win of all wins, a year-long around-the-world trip from Lonely Planet. To win that trip, Cristen had to submit a wacky photo of a sign, which is in the Lonely Planet coffee table book series called Sign Spotting, and this is Sign Spotting 2. Hopefully, Cristen will share her secrets so that we too can enter and win some contests. Cristen, welcome to Interviews.
Thank you.
Cristen, how did you get started entering contests?
I guess I've been always entering contests. My first contest I entered, I was really young, and it was a American Statesman contest. It was just a coloring book contest. So I don't even remember what the picture was, but I had to color something, and I ended up winning a stuffed armadillo.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So maybe that sparked it. I'm not sure.
And so were you consistently entering contests as you grew up?
Yeah, I would say so. Then obviously the more I won, the more inspired I was to keep doing it.
Sure.
So.
What were some of the other ones that you entered as a kid?
Oh, I don't actually really remember. I only really remember the ones that I've won. I remember that one, and random things like I won a towel off a popsicle stick, and just silly things like that. But nothing major until later. Well,
tell us about the tofurkey contest.
The tofurkey contest, I just saw it on the back of my tofurkey packaging, and I'm vegetarian, so I had a tofurkey, and you just had to reuse your leftovers and make a recipe. So I submitted a recipe. I submitted several, actually, so I don't even know which one won.
What did you submit?
I made some stuffed mushrooms, and I made some sort of pate-type dip. I submitted a few different recipes, and then I won. I didn't win the grand prize. I won second place, I think, which the prize ended up being a little bit cooler anyway, because it's not something you can buy in a store. I got a bowling shirt with my name embroidered on it, and it has singing soybeans. And I got a lunchbox and, just kind of some quirky things, but it was fun.
Cristen, how did you win a year's worth of dog food?
For that one, that one required a little bit more work, but my friend and my roommate at the time, had just adopted a Rottweiler, and he obviously eats a lot of food. So I saw this contest, and we just had to submit a picture of our dog and encourage all of our friends to vote over the course of a month for our dog. And so we ended up throwing a big party where we had all these laptop voting stations, and we made all of our friends vote for a dog. And my grandma would go to the library every day with all these made-up names and vote over and over again. Actually, it did take a lot of work. And a lot of other people, I think, that had entered their pets were doing something really similar because we barely won. But it was fun.
It sounds like it was worth it. A year's worth of dog food is a lot of money.
Yeah, it was. It was great.
Cristen, you won $1,000 from Hosteling International, and you used it to teach plastic bag crocheting in India. So first off, what was the contest?
The contest was, I just had to propose my idea, and it didn't have to be any sort of philanthropic project at all. It just had to be a place that I was already planning to go to, and they were going to give me some travel funds to make my trip happen. And then I had to prove that I could write a blog and then give a talk on my return about my trip to inspire other people to travel. So I proposed my trip to go to India and teach people about plastic bag crochet.
How did you come up with the idea for that? That seems like quite a niche.
Well, that happened after my other trip that I guess we'll talk about. But I went around the world, and while I was there, I've always kind of crocheted with plastic bags for a while now, and I would kind of teach impromptu classes as I was going. I taught some people in Thailand, and I taught some people in other countries as well. In Iceland, I taught some people. So there was a big interest, and I thought it would really work well in India because they have so many plastic bags. And
is it a particular problem there, or is it just...
Yeah, I mean, it's a worldwide problem, but it's a big problem there for sure.
So when you went, who did you teach, and how did it go?
It was great, actually. I kind of threw the trip together by just contacting people that were doing interesting things with plastic bags already, or people that already work with women to do handicrafts. it was kind of across the board. So we taught, I just kind of arranged some stuff in advance, but really just in the first place we went to, which was Bombay. And then I went there and we taught, I was with my boyfriend at the time, he came with me. So we went together and we went to schools and we taught kids kind of as a little just a fun environmental activity, and it was really well received. They loved it.
So I'm curious, because I have no idea in India, or maybe in certain cities in India, if they have an interest in recycling or environmentally friendly practices.
There's definitely niches all over, and there are definitely people there that are really interested, but I would say across the board, no, it's not very common.
Now, you needed to raise additional money in order to go, right? Didn't you do like a Kickstarter campaign?
I did, yeah.
Explain what that is for people who don't know.
So Kickstarter is a crowdsourced funding site. So you just and it's only for creative projects or artistic endeavors. So you have to most people make a video, but you don't have to. You just kind of explain your project in the best way you can. And we made a little video explaining what I was wanting to do, and you post it and people can just donate money. And usually there's a reward, so there's different tiers of donations, and then they'll get a reward based on what they donate. So I was giving out plastic bag koozies and different things as a gift for people that donated.
Which we being Interviews, the show, gave away on Facebook and Twitter some koozies, which I have here, and those are spoken for. A couple people have won them, and we'll be sending those out. How did you get into plastic bag crocheting?
We just had a lot of plastic bags. This was years ago. And I mean, there's other people that have been doing it. As I started researching it, people's grandparents have been doing it for years.
Really?
I'm not somebody that pioneered this whole thing, but I definitely have made it more popular in that I teach workshops on it, and a lot of people are doing it now. And a lot of people point to my website as kind of the go-to source as far as tutorials and different things. So
I have to say that, I've looked at what you've made, and the stuff is really, really cool. And we're going to have to talk after, because I would really like to get a bag made. What things besides bags have you made out of plastic bags? And you talked about the koozies.
I make backpacks. I make a lot of backpacks. They're really great. And I ride my bike a lot, so you can just clip your bike lights right onto them, too, because they're kind of mesh-like.
I have a question. Really nice. If you're wearing it as a backpack or a tote or whatever, is it uncomfortable? Like, does it chafe because it's plastic?
It depends on what type of plastic, and now I actually I'm pretty familiar with all the different grocery store bags and the textures and everything. But I have one that actually is kind of itchy if you're wearing short sleeves, but most of them aren't. No, they're really soft, and they wear down over time, so they get softer the longer you have them.
At this point, where do you get all of your plastic bags?
People just give them to me. I don't use plastic bags at the grocery store. I bring my own remade ones, obviously, now. So they're all recycled bags. They're not new bags that I use. But yeah, people give them to me, and I just, if once you start making things out of trash, people want to give you theirs.
Because we really don't have any plastic bags anymore.
Yeah.
I do want to say again, you were so gracious as to offer a couple of koozies to do as giveaways. And as I said, we did a contest on Facebook and Twitter over the last week, and we have our winners. I don't know the real names, but on Twitter it's A4Panda and Eggy Says. So, I like this, the contest winner doing a contest, like doing a giveaway. And for people who want to see what the koozies look like, you can see it on the Interviews Facebook fan page. And you can also see more of Cristen's plastic bag crochet work on her own website, which is bagsbegone.com.
Yeah, and I've made hats and other things. I made a top hat recently for a hat museum in Portland, actually.
Really?
Yeah, so that was fun.
That's very cool. Okay, so like the mother of all contests, Cristen, tell us about the Lonely Planet contest.
Well, that one, my grandmother actually sent me a clipping from her newspaper. She lives in Pittsburgh. And she sent me this contest where you just had to submit a picture of a strange sign or a quirky sign. And I had one, so I submitted it. And I just kind of forgot about the contest. I just entered it, and then
so you happen to have the photo already, or you?
Yeah, I already had this photo in mind, and I thought, well, I have this one. I'll just enter it and see what happens. But I didn't really do anything aside from just enter this photo. And it was a Lonely Planet contest, and it was sponsored by Star Alliance. And so,
for people who don't know, Lonely Planet, they make a series of guidebooks, and they're very popular. I know that, you know, a picture tells 1,000 words, but I'm going to ask you to describe the photo for people who, you know, are listening only at this point and haven't seen it.
So my picture is of the Golden Gate Bridge, which is pretty known for suicides because so many people jump off the bridge every year.
Yeah.
There's actually a documentary called The Bridge that's about that. So my picture, I was in San Francisco, and you can see the bridge in the background, and you can see all these suicide hotlines that they have on the bridge. And there's a sign that says jumping off the bridge is fatal, please call, there's hope. And there's a phone that you can call if you're going to jump off the bridge. And then when you open the phone, there's another sign that says phone out of order, use a cell phone.
Oh,
so I have both of those signs in the picture.
It's amazing. Again, you can see this photo. Which website is it on?
I have another website called circleourearth.com, which was kind of the one I made when I traveled around the world, and it's on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you didn't even really, like, you kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
How long was it from when you entered the contest to when you got notified?
About a year.
Is that right?
Yeah. Sign spotting. And so they take everybody's photo that they like, and they pay you $50 for rights to use the photo in their book. And then everybody votes on the photo that they like the best, and that person wins the grand prize. So they called me and said I won the grand prize.
And when they called you, like, what did you think? I mean,
I thought it was a scam. I didn't really believe them at all until they started describing the picture, and I did remember entering that. So I was like, okay, maybe this really is legit.
So how did they, like, prove themselves to you?
They sent me a series of emails and got me in contact with a travel agent right away and said, there's this flight calculator you can use to plan your trip, and, you know, here are the rules, and aside from that, it's up to you. Just make your trip and contact this guy when you're ready to book it. So
at this point, then what's your reaction? Are you, like, jumping off the walls?
Yeah, I ran into my work and was like, I won, I'm leaving.
I mean, I just can't imagine. That really, like, for many people, it is for me, is like the dream of a lifetime. Was that true for you?
Yeah, it was great. It was kind of a shock because I didn't really know what to think until I actually left. And still, I guess the first few flights I even got on, it felt strange. I was surprised they even let me on the airplane. Like, really? Cool.
Cristen, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk all about that trip. Folks, you are listening to Interviews, and I'm Abigail Mankey. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Interviews. My guest today is Cristen Andrews, who is a contest enterer and contest winner, and she won a trip around the world from Lonely Planet. So, Cristen, this grand prize, you took a year to do it, and it was 2008. Yes. What did you, like, how did you kind of arrange your life? I mean, you were employed at the time.
I was, yeah. I just basically quit my job. I ended up being lucky and being able to have my same job back when I came back because my company's awesome. But
were they like, yeah, you got to quit your job?
Yeah, they were really supportive. They said, of course, yeah, you should go. So I just quit everything, and, you know, I wasn't too tied down. I just got roommate, you know, rented out my room and took off.
So where did you go, and how did you decide where to go?
A few places I just have always wanted to go to, so that was, you know, obvious. And then I kind of just had to connect the dots in between. There were rules, so you can't backtrack, and you have to go in the same direction, and you have to end up in the same country as you started in.
Do you know why?
It truly is around the world ticket, so you have to, if I started in the U.S., I have to end in the U.S.
Do you know why they have those rules, like not being able to backtrack?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure why they have the rules. I think it's maybe it's cheaper for them in the long run. It kind of prevents you from being able to take these crazy flights from, you know, one end of the country to the other. So, you know, because if you're just doing small little flights all along the way, it's cheaper, I think, in the end, which is probably why they can afford to sell them so cheaply.
How many countries were you allowed to visit?
15.
So can you remember the countries you went to?
Yeah, and I actually went to a few more than 15 because I traveled to some by land. But I started in New Zealand, and then I spent a month in about each country, and then a few I was just in one city for like a week or so. But I was in New Zealand, and then Australia, and Japan, and Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Borneo, the Malaysian part of Borneo, Indonesia, not Indonesia, sorry. Where else did I go? India, and then some of the Middle East, like Syria and Egypt and Jordan, and I went to Iceland. I was trying to think of them in order, but yeah, I went to Iceland and Turkey and Norway.
Did you, maybe this is a crazy question, but did you have a favorite country?
No, I think I liked every country for different reasons. And every place I stayed about a month, I could have stayed so much longer.
Yeah, I believe that. You went by yourself. Did you ever feel uncomfortable as a woman alone in any of the countries?
I really didn't, actually. I kind of thought I would, but I mean, yeah, in India, I would say, is maybe the hardest place to be a woman alone. But by then I had traveled for a while, so I felt like I was already used to people staring at me. So that part wasn't so weird.
So in what ways was India maybe more challenging?
It's just really intense, and it is hard to be a woman there because I would say their culture, the women aren't necessarily as out and about all the time. They tend to travel in groups, and if you're alone, people just always were coming up to me saying, "Why alone? Don't you have any friends? Where's your brother? Where is your sister? Where's your family?" They were just so shocked that I was alone, and it was kind of more annoying than anything else because I felt like people felt sorry for me, and I had to always convince them that I was fine and I liked to travel alone and I was happy. But they were like, "No, you're not happy. You're alone. It's sad."
Was it easy to meet people?
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're alone, it's a lot easier to meet people. So that was one really good thing. You're a lot more approachable. So.
Local people or other travelers or both?
Both. Yeah, both. So, and I think you're also forced to be more outgoing if you're alone because you want to meet people too. So
what was like, sort of an amazing experience that you had in terms of connecting with some locals and learning something about them or their country?
I got to meet a bunch of monks in Vietnam, and that was really great. I was sitting at a vegetarian restaurant by myself, and this lady came up and just said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Austin." And she said, "I'm from Houston." And I thought that was so strange. And her father was actually a monk, and he had died. And so she was in town for the funeral. And so after meeting her and her friends, who were all monks for just a few hours, they invited me to spend the rest of the time in Vietnam with them. And so I was just on their motorbikes, and we were going all over the place and visiting all of her family and eating at all the best restaurants because they're all vegetarian. So it was great.
That sounds very cool. Speaking of being vegetarian, was it ever a challenge to get food? Whether it was that it wasn't available or that it was hard to know how to order it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was always easy, but it's definitely always possible. I managed to be vegetarian everywhere I went.
Where was it not easy?
Japan has a lot of vegetarian food. It just wasn't easy at the beginning because everything's in Japanese and it was just hard to know what to order. But once you put the effort into learning, then it's really easy. So being there for a month, I mean, I could see if you just showed up for a few days, it would be tough if you don't research a lot in advance. So it took me a few days to figure it out. But then, I had the whole month to enjoy all this amazing vegetarian food that they have.
And where was it actually very easy to be vegetarian?
Well, India, of course, is really good. A lot of Indian food is plant-based. Basically, all of Asia is very plant-based. Thailand, yeah, a lot of everywhere. I was able to find stuff. I was surprised by that, actually.
Any freaky food you came across?
Oh yeah, in Vietnam they love fake meat, so they have a lot of really strange fake meats, like vegan head paste and vegan intestines. I ate vegan fried deer. I tried that one. Yeah, it's crazy. You see these crazy menus that are just, it does not look vegetarian, but everything is.
What were some of the really kind of just, I don't know, more unusual experiences you had? I mean, I understand this was a year-long trip. You had thousands and thousands, but what are just some things that stand out as just really unusual?
I guess I went to Borneo and I'd always kind of wanted to go. I just had this vision of seeing the rainforest in Borneo and traveling around there. And when I got there, it wasn't as easy as I expected, just because you either have to go pay a ton of money to go on some fancy tour, or it's just really hard to get around, or especially if you're by yourself, because all of these things are really expensive. And if you have people to share it with, it's a lot easier. And so I ended up trying to find ways to get into the jungle by myself and be able to see stuff without paying tons and tons of money. So I ended up finding this research center. It's all for scientists doing jungle research. And I contacted them and just said, can I stay in your dorm? I'm not a researcher. I'm just by myself and I just want to go camping. Can I come? And they said, yeah. So I was really excited about that. I didn't really know if they would or not, but they let me. So I just went out, and they only had buses that will pick you up from the main hub and take you in there once or twice. It was like twice a week. So I had to just wait until the next bus was coming, and then I got to join them and go in. And I ended up meeting all these really interesting bird researchers and plant researchers and insect researchers. And it was great. So I got to go hike in the jungle, and I saw a wild orangutan, which was amazing.
What else did you see?
Tons of leeches. I got coated in leeches every day. But,
really?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, you have to be okay with that. That's part of it, too.
Anything
it was beautiful.
Oh, I imagine. Anything really scary, Cristen, like where you feared for your safety? There had to have been things like that.
Honestly, no. I really lucked out, I think. I mean, I'm sure wasn't the most safe all the time, but nothing bad happened.
Did you ever feel like really shy or just sort of culturally like clueless and awkward?
Oh, yeah. I was in Vietnam, and I had a friend take me to visit her family. Her grandma lives in this little village, and she said, I promise I've never seen another tourist before, especially a vegetarian one. And so we went to this village, and we're just riding our motorbike into town, and everybody was all waiting already. All these old ladies and kids were sitting on her grandmother's porch waiting for me to arrive. And I got there, and nobody speaks English, and I don't speak a word of Vietnamese. And I just saw these kids were giggling and hiding behind things, and I just felt like a circus animal or something. And these women were poking my ass. And
really?
Yeah, and I was just like, what is this about? And they just kept laughing, and my friend said, oh, they're just wondering why you're so fat when you're vegetarian. It's no big deal. They're really blunt there. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I felt real awkward, but it was fine. Everybody was great, and they made this big feast for me, and everybody in the village was bringing some sort of vegetable from their yard. Saying, oh, she's vegetarian, we have to provide for her. So everybody was contributing something, and they made me this really amazing vegetarian feast, and it was really awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, Cristen, you were literally swept off your feet by wind.
Oh, yeah.
What was that like? What happened?
Oh, I was just hiking with some friends, and we went up this volcano. You kind of just walk up the rim, and you just walk up to the rim of the volcano, and the wind was just crazy to where we kept thinking we should maybe turn back, but we just kept going. And then I just literally got swept off my feet and fell down. It's like, okay, I'm going back now. But yeah.
Any like especially hard times?
Let me think about this. It's hard to, there was such a blur now, because it was all, I only have good memories of
Is that
it.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you do get lonely sometimes, for sure, if you're by yourself. And, I had a boyfriend back home, so obviously missed him a lot. But
what are some real standout experiences in terms of like really beautiful or really poignant, something you'll just never forget and that maybe changed your life in some way?
Well, it's just, I don't know, but I can't really point to something specific, but I could just say that I feel the whole trip was just really empowering, I thought. I feel like I can kind of go anywhere now and by myself, and I'll be fine. I don't have to speak the language, and, in every country I found really amazing people that welcomed me into their home, local people, and, it was great. Everything about it was great.
Cristen, going back to the whole contest thing, what would you say is your secret to winning contests?
Well, I only enter contests where you actually have to do something. You're not just sticking your name in a hat. I guess I would enter those too, but I don't make a big point to try to seek those out because the odds of winning are so low. But, if you have to submit an essay, or if you have to submit a picture or something like that, there's just better chances that you'll win.
There's clearly within that a creativity element. So do you feel like you're more creative than the average bear?
I don't know. I feel like I maybe kind of know what people are looking for too whenever they post these contests. So I just know the right thing to say or the right thing to write. I'm not sure, but I seem to have a knack for it.
Cristen, any contests that you entered that you really wanted to win, but that you didn't?
Well, I just entered one. I don't know if I'll win or not, so I guess we'll see. But
What is it?
It's a Vanna White contest. Apparently, she has her own brand of yarn, and I crochet a lot. And so you just had to use Vanna White yarn to create some sort of something. It could be, fashion, or it could be like a baby's outfit, or it could be anything. And I made a whole Mexican wrestler outfit. So I'm not sure if Vanna White will think that's a little too offbeat than the normal entries and not be into it, but maybe she'll like it. We'll see. But I just wanted to make something weird that I would want, even if I don't win.
That is hilarious. Are there any contests that you plan on entering? Anything upcoming?
No, I guess that's the last one I entered, and that was pretty recent. So I think I may be good for a while.
When do you find out?
At the end of May.
Well, I wish you the best with that. We're actually out of time. Thank you so much, Cristen, for coming on interviews and sharing these great stories.
Thank you.
That was Cristen Andrews. You can learn more about what she's up to at circleourearth.com and bagsbegone.com. This show is recorded live at Co-op Radio 91.7 FM, Austin. Thank you to Lisa Sheps for engineering, Bill Guzik and Jared Hardy for videography, and happy birthday to Bill. And Mark Goldsmith and Angela Felder for promotions. To stay up to date with interviews, become a fan on Facebook at facebook.com/interviewslive. That's INNER Views Live. To hear past shows, please go to interviewslive.com. You are listening to KOOP Hornsby, Austin, 91.7 FM. Stay tuned for Reflections of Community Outreach, which is up next.